Thank you for tuning in to an episode of the MC Mechanics Podcast. Episode 1, recorded on 8/7/2022. All right, thank you for joining us for the first episode of, I don't know, Motorcycle Crazy People.
That's right. From Craigslist to a wedding. That's what we could call it.
Craigslist to a wedding. Yeah, that's what we can call it.
Yeah.
So, I'm the host, Jedz, and with me I've got
John Burkhardt.
Triple Jonnie.
Yep, Triple Jonnie.
Yep. So, Jonnie and I have gone back for, dude, how long have we been friends now for?
Well, I checked some dates. September of 2012, I bought the GS 750 for a parts bike. In November 2012, you bought it off of me. And that was where we first met.
So 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was, kind of unique about that deal was you pulled up on a motorcycle with a leather jacket to look at it, my storage unit. And I'm like, wow, I haven't met anybody in Vermont that rides. This is pretty cool. And you're about the same age as my oldest son. And I thought, he ain't going to hang out with me. So the deal was, we made the deal on the bike, whether it was $200 or $300, but I had to put it in my van and bring it to your house because you didn't have a truck.
Right.
So we made a deal and I dropped it off. And then I started stalking you at Sbarro's to try and figure out how to be a new motorcycle buddy. And, that was in the dark ages. So
yeah.
That was a little difficult, but we made it stick.
Yeah, that's true. You were the Craigslist guy that kept kept showing up randomly. And then, then we just ended up hanging out, being friends. It's fun.
Well, what was sweet about that is I tested our friendship immediately, and you gave me the money. No. Maybe you didn't give me the money, give me a deposit. And I was scheduled to deliver it the next day or the next Friday. And I decided to mess with you. And I sent you a picture of an old motorcycle converted into a trike. And I said, I changed my mind. I'm going to convert it over to a trike. And your comment was, whatever, man, we had a deal. I mean, you were upset. And then I went, I'm joking. And you didn't know how to take me. So I found that picture somewhere. And I think I found the email that we sent back and forth. I got to find it again.
Well, the thing is, it's like, you meet people on Craigslist. You don't know who they are.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I'm always trying to be serious. And then I realized that you're just naturally just a jerk. So
that's right. But that delivery in my cargo van became one of about 4 or 5 bikes. You would call me up, Jonnie, what are you doing this weekend? I bought a bike in New Hampshire. Will you go down and get it with me? And we drove my 2-wheel drive Chevy van with no traction way up in the mountains and got stuck to pick up. I don't know what that was.
The FZ1.
The FZ1. Yeah. Got stuck and the guy helped us dig it out. And we came back.
Yeah.
And we were going down the big hills in New Hampshire, windy roads. And I'm laying on the brakes trying to get this thing to stop. And 2 weeks later, I did my inspection and my brake lines broke on the rack when the guy was poking around with a screwdriver. So we would have not be here right now if it wasn't for Vermont inspections because it busted right through. You were the first person I thought of when the fluid went all over the garage floor. I went, oh my gosh, we were going down them hill doing 50 mile an hour.
We went through the mountains, man. We went up into near Conway. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, that was an interesting pickup. Yeah, I think I've definitely asked you quite a bit for hauling bikes or picking up bikes.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I mean, we've got quite a history between you and I. How many bikes have you sold me and I've sold you? How many transactions have we had?
Well, I sent you some pictures, but it's got to be 5 or 6, 7. And what's funny is you would stop by the house and say, what are you working on? And I'd show you. And before you left, you had made a deal to buy it or trade it from me. So
right.
I think my favorite one that we did was the RD 200 for what we called the GS Ugly, the 750.
Yeah.
And we did an even trade because we both had about $600 on a bike, we said. And the contest was who could flip the other bike and make the most money. And that's when you flipped it and somehow ended up with a Bandit that Steve has.
Yeah.
I thought you did something, and then you called up and said, I got a Bandit or something. I don't know why, but that sounds familiar. But
yeah,
well, you won.
Yeah. Yeah, I won. Because it was what the hell was it? Yeah, so I traded you. So I picked up that GS 750. I had a GS 750. I got that 750 for like $600, and basically like spray painted it green and everything. And then you got the RD2. Yeah, you had the RD200. And I was like, oh, two-stroke. Always wanted one of those.
Yeah.
And we traded. And then I just like never finished the RD200. And then this guy, you know who I got the Bandit from, right? It was She'll Fire, dude.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah,
what
you traded the 200 to him, Justin.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She'll Fire.
She'll Fire. Yeah.
That's right. Like, yeah, she'll fire. Like, she caught on fire. All the wires are.
That's right.
Up. Yeah, she fired. No, but yeah, that's how I acquired.
Yeah, because he was afraid of the Bandit. It was too much bike for him.
It was too much bike. Yeah, he just loved those 650 shaft drive GSs. That's all he wanted.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And so I traded him the RD200 for that. But
I think the deal that I thought was great was I went to my buddy Tom, the plumber, and he bought a garage and it had the original 750 triple in it, and 78 model, I guess. And I want to say I paid $300 for it, brought it home, and it was pretty heavy. And I rode it a little bit, and you came over, looked at it, and said, I always wanted a triple, and you bought it.
Yeah.
You took it home, and the picture will show you did all kinds of, as we say, modified it with the red paint, the different pipes, different handlebars.
Right.
And it had there's a picture in there. It's got this Timex Expedition watch was the model on the handlebars, and I just left it on there. And you did all this work to it. You put brake pads on it. You bought pods for it, all kinds of stuff. You called me up and said, do you want this back? And you sold it to me for like $350 after you did all the work on it.
I know.
And then I rode it for a while, and that was the one I ended up selling to Kaplan Cycles at Rice-A-Rama. And
oh God,
that's where the video was that said I was a professional motorcycle mechanic, and
I was the one that did the work.
Yeah, you were the one. Yeah, he said on a video that I went from top to bottom, front to back on every nut and bolt on it, and I changed the oil and put plugs in it and put handlebars on it. So
yeah,
he made a lot more money on it than I did, but still, it was something else.
Right, but we're the masterminds.
That's right.
I mean, we are. I mean, you would call us for sure. We're horse traders. Like,
yeah.
You know, we've owned. How many motorcycles have you been through?
I don't keep track of it. Nowhere near as much as you. You're like Mr. Haney with all the motorcycles, but I guess I've probably had 15 to 20, I guess. Yeah. You know, I would try and flip one or two a year, and the money I made off of that would budget for my personal bikes and parts I needed so that it didn't take it out of the black hole, you know?
Yeah.
But the difference in our friendship and some of your other guys' friendship is you would call me up and say, will you go look at this bike and see if it's worth it? And I would get it for you, where your other friends would go, yeah, it's a good deal, I'm going to buy it.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Then that has happened.
Yeah, it has.
It drives me nuts. Like, can you check that bike out for me? I had a buddy, Steve, over in New Hampshire, and I'm like,
yeah,
can you check that bike out for me? Well, I don't remember what it was. What was it? It was like a beast. It was I want to say it was like an SV650 or something. It was a sweet little bike. And I'm like, hey, can you check it out? And he went and checked it out. And then he's like, I bought it. I'm like, you jerk. Like, that was my lead.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true. We don't usually buy each other out, because what ends up happening is if I buy a bike or you buy a bike, and if I like it more than you like it, I'll probably end up with it anyway. So like,
yeah. The closest I ever did anything like that is Bob, our friend, Dirty Bob, that we call him. By the way, research that out. Rice-A-Rama, Dirty Bob on Kaplan Cycles, if you want to know about Dirty Bob. But I found that Honda SL125 that was, a lady said was what did she say? It was an SL250, and she wanted $125 for it. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I saw in the picture and realized that it was an SL125. It wasn't a 250. And I called her up and she said, no, it's a 125 and I want 250 for it. I said, okay. So I said, I'm coming. I have a truck. I have cash. I'll be there. So I called Bob and said, I've got something heavy I need help with. Will you go with me? And I carried on a conversation the whole trip to keep him occupied. He goes, what are we getting? I said, you'll see. It's just some metal thing or whatever, you know. Well, when he got out of the truck and he saw it in the garage, and when he saw that I handed 250 to the lady, he flipped because he wanted the bike from right then. So that was worth it to me to take him and not tell him what I was getting and then get this bike that he wanted. So that was about as close as I came to cheating on a buddy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that was your lead you followed up with, you know?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So
besides, we all know Bob really just wants Buell blasts.
Yeah.
You know, that's all he wants.
Yeah, the Buell Blast.
and a nice fresh coat of black spray paint on anything.
That was on the Shadow. I would tell him I could tell him when he was coming because it smelled like burnt paint coming up the road. So
what's that? It smells like caramelized enamel.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
He got me pretty good, though, the other day. I was telling him that I was working with my best friend when I lived here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And during the conversation, he said, I appreciate that you acknowledged that the guy was your best friend in Kentucky. I said, well, yeah, he was. So we talked some more. And when he hung up, he said, I miss you, buddy. He said, I just want you to know you're my best friend out of state.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah. So it's a great guy.
He is a great guy. He's funny.
Yeah.
He is a funny guy. Yeah.
But we've there's a couple of bikes on the pictures in there that I found, like the GR650. I was just driving up one day, the old twin, saw it and pulled over, took a picture of it, sent it to you and said, I can get this if you want it. I didn't want it. You said, yes, I got to have it. And next thing I know, I'm loading this bike up my work truck, taking money out of the account and paying for it. So
that's the template.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was like, how much was that? Like cheap, right?
Yeah, it was like $225 or whatever. And the guy normally sells used tires and lawnmowers out front. And well, you can see it in the background, the used tires. And I pulled in and I talked to apparently his mom, and she's talking to him on the phone. Next thing I know, you said you want it. And I'm loading it up in the truck.
Yep. That was a cool little bike. I turned that into like a little bobber thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 650 twin, basically based off the Suzuki GS 450 engine, but it's a 650.
Right.
They couldn't call it a GS 650 because the GS 650 was a 4-cylinder, so they called it a GR 650 Suzuki.
Yeah.
And it was a
I think they were going after Yamaha 650 twins, and it just wasn't the same thing.
It was a turd. It was kind of a turd of a motorcycle. Like, not fast. All right, let's see what else we got on these pictures. Oh, I know that guy.
That was the famous Honda that we made a deal and we were going to figure out something in the future. And then you called up and said, the previous guy wants it back. So I loaded it up and sent it back.
Mm-hmm. That's my buddy Cello's. What was it? CT? That was a 90, right? That's a CT90.
Yeah. Never heard it run.
Yeah. He ended up dropping the engine and putting in a Life-In 125 in that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he still runs, I guess.
I still have the front engine guard that went on it, underneath it. And because I had one for that, the Trail 70, and I didn't know which one was which. I reached out to him a couple times, but he he said yes, but he really didn't reply like, let's meet.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So the story with that bike is Cello dropped it off at my house and said, "Can you restore it?" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude." And he's like, "Oh, just hold on to it. If you want to ride it, you can and fix it." And I held on to it. And then one day he just called me. He's like, "So that CT, do you still have it?" I'm like, "Yep, it's yours. You never gave, I never gave you money for it. So here it is." Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, there's the tempter again. 650.
Yeah. So if you see the one, that's the GS Ugly there.
Yeah.
I sold that to a guy that was in Burlington that had an older DT 250, but he was like a famous downhill bike racer.
Yeah.
And did a lot of work on it. I think he still has it and he's trying to restore it or whatever. But it was funny. I sold it.
Really?
No, that's the 650. That's the GS Ugly.
That's a 750.
I thought it was 650. Okay, well then that's what it was. That's right, because it was. Well, if you click on the one, it's got the painted, the orange paint job or whatever. I thought it was the same bike.
Hold on. That one, right?
That one. Isn't that the same bike?
It's the same bike, yeah.
Maybe it is a 750, and I thought it was a 650.
No.
I just remember GS Ugly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's a beaut.
Yeah.
The tape right there, you know, quality, comfort.
But the, do you have the one with the black gas tank on the back of the seat? No, there you go. That's at the wedding.
Yeah, that's at the wedding. There it is. Okay.
That one. So that was my silver ghost streak that my father-in-law built that you rode. And the deal we made for the first Suzuki was I needed the gas tank because my gas tank was messed up. And you said, don't worry about it. I've got one. I think you were making a cafe racer for your aunt or something.
Yeah, at the time I was. Yeah.
So you called up 3 days later and said, my gas tank's no good. What can we do? And I went, I'll just give it to you. So I strapped it on and rode the bike over that night and delivered it on the bike. That was the first time I came, or second time I came to your house. But
yeah. Yeah. Didn't I ride that and like the clutch was slipping or something?
Yeah, it just cracked me up. You never rode the bike before. You got out of your driveway and nailed it like you were in a drag race. And I'm like, he doesn't even know if it's got brakes. And you were flying up the road and the clutch was slipping and I didn't know it because Grandpa here doesn't ride like that.
Right.
So, but
yeah. What year? So that silver bike, that was 81?
81. And my father-in-law got it in a basket of parts and put that thing together. The motor was in pieces, everything, and then he painted it all.
Yeah.
And he got a big old Harley, and he gave that to me because I had the GS 450 twin that I was riding, and he thought I needed a bigger bike. So, and that bike was great if it started, but it was 50-50 to start it.
Yeah.
It would crank forever, not start. You'd get mad, and 20 minutes later, you hit the button, it'd start right up. There was no rhyme or reason, and I just got fed up with it.
Yeah, I remember that bike.
Yeah,
the Beast is what you'd call it.
Yeah.
And then you sold that. You sold that to a guy in Rutland, right? And you did the transaction in the McDonald's parking lot in Middlebury.
Yeah, because what scared me, he was a big old boy too, but he showed up. It was on a trailer. He handed me the cash. He didn't want to test ride it, nothing. He goes, it's what I want. Hand me the cash. And I told Morgan, we got to get out of here. And he gets it off the trailer. He rides it across the street to the gas station, put gas in it. I go, we got to get out of here. It's not going to start once he shuts it off. He called up later on that day and he goes, hey, man, I just want to thank you. That bike's incredible. And I went, are you kidding me? It never ran for me. So it must have been me. And then I saw it in Craigslist like 2 years later for about the same price. And I thought, oh, man, I thought, no, stay away from it. Don't worry about it. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't buy it.
Yeah. I mean, and then you came for the green DT 125. That was sitting in somebody's shed and it needed rings or piston rings. And then I split the cases and put crank seals in it and bearings and some rings and got it running. And you just happened to stop by. I found videos and you wanted to test ride it, went up down the driveway. Next thing you know, you make a deal with me and I couldn't make any money off of it. I basically sold for what I had in it. Like,
Right.
daggone it, Justin. And then it blew up on you with trying to do 90 mile an hour on the way to work every day.
Oh, I wasn't doing that. Well, it was funny because yeah, I rode it and I kind of wish I still had it because it's such a cool little bike.
Yeah.
But when I was riding to work, first off, I've learned that two strokes, they don't like to just buzz at a certain RPM. They like to modulate their RPM.
Right.
Know that. So I was going down a dirt road, cruising around, going to work, and all of a sudden, it just lost all power. Wide open throttle, it just lost all power. And by chance, my wife was still in bed. So I called her. I'm like, throw this, like the ramps in the truck already. Just drive with the truck to where I'm at and I'll put it in the truck. And if you're late for work, I apologize. And she wasn't late for work, but yeah, I burned a perfect little hole into the piston. I still have that piston. I should have brought it upstairs. I still have it. It's somewhere downstairs. Yeah. I keep it with me. And because you did the whole bottom end, you did all the crank seals, and I'm like, well, I guess it's time to do the top end. You know? So
I think I honed it and put rings in it because when I mic'd the piston, it was fine, but I guess it wasn't.
No, it was fine. It was fine after I put a new piston in it. It was great.
I have a video that says it was done by a professional motorcycle mechanic. So you just let me know if you need proof of that.
No, I don't think we need proof. I believe you.
Man, oh man.
That was a cool little bike. I like that little two-stroke. Oh, yeah. So how about let's talk about this bike right here. So I'm gonna share a screen. Share. There it is.
Oh man.
So do you want me to start it? Because I got this bike.
But yeah, it was in my truck. We drove way down to Vermont to pick it up.
What, you? Yeah,
you and I drove down to pick that up because I remember you making a deal with a guy.
In Barrie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is where I used John again to shuttle my property. So the guy that owned this bike had a bunch of other bikes. I guess he was like a motorcycle dealer, but I don't know. All his bikes were not in great shape. So I picked up this bike.
That's right. I forgot about this.
I put really nice carbs on it. You know, that exhaust system's really sweet.
Yeah.
dropped that collector catalytic converter thing that Honda put in those bikes at that age, and put those nice MGO short mufflers on. So it was loud, but it ran pretty decent with those carbs. And
yeah, those were from Dime City, weren't they?
Yeah, they were
really expensive.
I think they were Nickeltown Customs.
Okay. No, I thought they were really expensive Mikuni carbs. So you didn't.
No, they were Mikuni. They were Mikuni. They're Mikuni carbs. They were Mikunis.
Yeah.
Because the Kine or whatever were pretty shot. So I was like, I'll just try this. You know, Dime City Nickeltown Custom carburetor kit, and it ran pretty good. And then I sold the bike to this guy.
Yeah.
I want to say, John, I sold it for $1,800 or something. And the guy never came and picked up the bike.
Yeah. I never could figure that out.
Right? So what did I do? I sold it to you? Who did I get?
You traded it to Matt. You were looking for a bike to do that. What was it? Clunker run or whatever. You had to get a used bike and go so far.
Right. It was like the Clunker Cannonball or something.
Yeah. And so I'm talking to Matt, and he says, I got this huge Kawasaki 1000. It's too big. I don't know what to do with it. And I said, well, Justin's got this 450 twin. Maybe you can work out a deal. So you guys made a trade, and it turned out the Kawasaki was in really bad shape. And Matt didn't really know all the details on it.
That's right.
But yeah, so
that's how I acquired that Cowie.
Yeah, so it ended up, the Cowie ended up at my house, and then that ended up at my house. And then when the trade was done, Matt took it home and never got his license. He kept starting it up and revving it up and showing his friends. And eventually just every time he choked it, he just left it on or something and flooded it out. He called one day and said, it won't run. And I go over and the spark plug caps are off of it. Put the caps on, it started right up. So he kept saying, I'm going to get my license. I'm going to get my license. And I think I joked around with him and said, I'm going to buy that bike for $500 right about Christmas time. And he goes, no, you're not. I'm getting my license. And I think he called me probably in early November and said, will you give me $500 for this bike? I said, I sure will. And I picked it up. I did a little bit of work on it.
You sent me a video.
Yeah, and sold it to a guy in New Richmond, or is that right? No, Richmond, Vermont. So many towns are similar here that they are there. Yeah. But the guy had a DUI and was getting his license in a month. And he said, this is all I'm going to do is ride this bike. And I bet you any amount of money, he never rode it, and it's just sitting in somebody's garage somewhere. It's like I told you, I said, this bike is cursed. It's never going to get ridden. It's just going to get passed around.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was funny. You sent me a video, like, look what I just purchased. I'm like, the bike that I sold to the guy that, like, and I sold it. And here's the thing, like, this is where I go, possession is 9/10 of the law. And I talked to cops. I'm like, this guy hasn't picked up this bike in months. What do I do?
Yeah.
And one of my buddies who was a police officer said, well, do you have a bill of sale? I'm like, yes. He's like, okay, but possession's 9/10 of the law, so
yeah, we were trying to figure out.
I'm just like, I'm not gonna make any more money off it. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Like, that's how I felt about it, because I needed it out. I wasn't going to ride it. So interesting.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out that $3,500 was put through that bike and nobody rode it with all the trading back and forth.
Yeah, that's what we figured out. It was almost $4,000 worth of cash going through that little Honda CB 450. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most expensive Nighthawk I've ever seen.
Yep, that's right. Man. And then I don't know how many more we had, but then you called me up with a call and said, I'm getting married. And we all said it's about time. And then you said, all my groomsmen are riding motorcycles. I went, oh, that's pretty cool. And you just kind of paused for a minute. And I thought, what's going on? You go, will you be in my wedding? I'm like, what are you doing with an old man in your wedding?
Yeah. That's right. You were one of my groomsmen.
Yep.
And I
got to walk down the aisle with somebody that could have been my daughter. It was just awesome. So
that's true. Yeah. She could have been.
Yeah.
Would you walk down Becca, I think, right?
Which one?
Which one did you walk down, Becca?
One of them was a relative, and the other one was, I can't remember her name. She's friends with your wife and sister-in-law. The three of them hang out.
Becca, probably.
Is that Becca?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was kind of a blur. It wasn't Jimmy.
No.
No, you didn't walk Jimmy down.
No, I didn't walk Jimmy down.
But yeah, and then we always talk about the SR.
Yeah. Which I still have in a hidden storage unit that no one knows about.
Right. Right.
You had the what was the big Kawasaki touring bike you had? 1300 or whatever?
What, my Concourse?
Was it a Concourse?
Yeah, it was 1400.
Yeah, it was just 200-mile-an-hour sewing machine is what it was. It just zing, zing. You couldn't tell from the motor noise whether you were going fast or slow. It never changed. So we pulled over somewhere where we met, and you went, "You want to trade bikes?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my precious bike." And all I could think was flashback with you going up with a silver bike, just nailing up the road. So you get on the bike, and I'm nervous when you take off, and you go through the gears, and I'm giving it the gas, and the bike is kind of doing this. And I realize I'm in second gear, and I never shifted gears. So it's like, and because I'm watching you ahead, and all I see is you shifting up, downshifting, shifting up, downshifting. And then you stand up and down to push the shocks and the forks down, just doing the whole, shakedown test of it before you got. I thought, what on earth have I done? And here you're going up with my vintage old bike with no money in it, and I'm riding around on your $10,000 bike, and I'm worried about mine.
I know. We're all between you and me, we have more focus on the SR 650 than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I was looking for paperwork, I keep a file on all my old motorcycle stuff so I can kind of reminisce and look at it. But Craig, of course, passed away last September. It was his bike, and he did so much work to it that he would just give me a little bit of information of what he did to it each time with cams and head work and boring it out and carbs and everything. And I found the paper just today listed out of all the things that were done to it, that it took me several tries to get him to tell me. He's like, "I don't know. I don't remember that stuff," and then he'd tell me about it. But it's pretty incredible. And I have his 81 SR 250 Yamaha single, that a project he didn't finish that I haven't finished either, and I found the notes on all the things he did on that. So hopefully this house gets done, I'll be able to get started on that.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can kind of go into what's your inventory looking at like these days?
Well, I have it's a 79 SR 650, and I think it's got 30,000 miles on it.
Yep.
And a bunch of work done to it. And then during the pandemic, a guy listed a 80 Yamaha 850 triple special, your favorite. And he was right across the Crown Point Bridge. I'm trying to think of the little town that was over there.
Oh, Crown Point? No. Elizabethtown?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I think it was. It wasn't that far across the bridge.
Yeah.
So, Deb doesn't want me leaving the house and everything else. And I said, I'm going down, and I get this bike for like $300. And he said the transmission's messed up and said it won't start. Well, I pushed the Kickstarter because still had a Kickstarter, and it went down. And I realized if you pull the clutch in, the Kickstarter goes down with no compression. So I knew at that point that the clutch was burnt out. And he was a pretty good sized boy. So I'm imagining he's just dragging this clutch, riding it up and down the hills in New York. So I don't think twice about it. It's not running. And it had 9,500 miles on it.
Wow.
And he bought it with 2,000 miles on it and toured around with it. He was in the service out west somewhere. So those things are a beast to load up, but I got it on there. But what was pretty funny is as I come across the Crown Point Bridge, Vermont, from our lovely governor, yours now, not mine, it's got the sign that said, if you're visiting our state, we ask that you quarantine for 14 days before you go out in public. So I called Deb and I said, I'm sorry, I have no choice but to quarantine for 14 days because I went to New York. So I have no choice but to work on this bike at home for 14 days. I can't work, So I'm sure I put a clutch in it and it ran great. And then along with the triple, I got the triple carburetors from you from the Triumph on there, which
by the way, I have a nice 3-2 exhaust off that Triumph.
Man. Wow. Well, that'll be the deal going down that, we'll never really get completed for the rest of our life, but you'll have that hanging over my head and I'll know that I got one up on you.
Maybe I'll just have to do like a 3-day run out to Kentucky and just strap it to the Goldwing. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. So I have that. I have the 81 SR 250 single that I'll have to send pictures later on of that. my secretary where we worked in 1995 gave me a 71 Honda Trail 70 4-speed with a clutch. And her son broke his leg, and she said, "Get it out of here. I don't want it." So that was in 95. I was going to restore it to teach Ryan, my son, how to ride, who was your age. Mm-hmm. That never happened. And it sat in a corner. And then Morgan grew up, who's 27. And I said, "I'm going to get it running and show you how to ride it." That never happened. And I think I finally got it running maybe in 2015 or something like that in Vermont. Once I knew it started, I tore it all apart to restore it, and it's still sitting in boxes. So
that's the one that sits on your shelf, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, but what else? And then a few months back, I went to Ithaca, New York to meet my triple buddies from the forum and got a 85 Honda 500 Interceptor that looked kind of funny with their 7 or 8 triples around the shop. So they gave me a really good deal on that. And it needs to be put back together and cleaned up a little bit, and checked out, but I haven't had time to do it. So with the house that I'm working on.
It runs on the tank, the auxiliary tank.
Yeah, I've got a video of it running, and they're great guys. They're not going to, do me wrong. And you helped them out with some titles before, but I met them on Facebook forum. David just answered all the questions for everybody. Super nice guy. And instead of going on the forum, I just direct messaged him one day and said, "I'm going to cut out the middleman, just go straight to you. What's wrong with my triple?" And Sam, his best friend, calls him Parnelli because he can fix anything.
Yeah.
And they're total opposites of each other. They're a lot like me and you. And they met in high school, and or grade school, I guess, and they've been friends. And Sam's in Poughkeepsie, and he's in Ithaca. And David has got an incredible shop in Ithaca with all these triples all over the place. And Sam comes up on the weekends and works on them. But I'm thinking, what are these guys doing with all these triples? Well, Sam sends me pictures, and he's got all these gorgeous bikes at his house, and then this old triple that he just loves to ride,
Yep.
So we just became good friends, on emails. And it's just like they say, you don't talk to somebody you meet online. Next thing you know, I'm going over there to spend the night at the house, picking up motorcycle and coming back.
I know. I was just going to say that. And I think the nicest people I've ever met were the ones I've met online through sketchy Craigslist deals.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, Johnny?
Yeah, that's right. I always said that we would have been a great testimony for Craigslist. We met in 2012, and then in wait, let me check the date here. August of 19, I was in your wedding. So,
right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So,
2 weeks on Wednesday. Yeah. 10 days from now. That's our,
that's crazy.
It's our wedding anniversary. Now we have a kid and all that jazz.
All that jazz.
So, and you're riding more than me now these days, it seems.
Which is incredible. You put more miles on a motorcycle than I did in my cage. And the traffic here is horrendous, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And so when we moved to this house, I have a back road, and I can go to lovely, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Where in the hell's Rabbit Hash, Kentucky?
I'm about 10 miles from Rabbit Hash, so which is down by the river. It's a famous biker place. And I've got a, 30, 40 mile loop that I go down, and I change directions and go different ways to mix it up. But like I said, the traffic, the 4-lane highway in front of our house, it's just, you take your life in your own hands, and I just can't do it.
Right.
When you come to a stoplight, do what?
And the last thing you want to do is trust 40-year-old brakes.
Right. Right. And if you come to a stoplight and you're sitting there, before it turns green, 4 out of 5 lights, somebody is going to run that red light before you go. I mean, it's just, I've never seen anything like it.
Really?
Yeah. And they're all monster 4-wheel drive pickups that are lifted around here, and they're like tanks. And they just intimidate, and they own the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
So my inventory.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about all the things that have happened. So I sold my triple today. I sold the FJ09 today.
Oh, Man.
today. Yeah, it is no more. I now have a giant, well, it's not giant, but it's giant to me pile of cash because you paid in 20s. So it was
Oh
a
God.
huge pile of cash. That's a lot of 20s, man. And then so I'm down to the Bonneville T120, which
Yeah.
now has 101,600 miles.
Wow.
I bought that new in 2018, as
Yeah.
everybody knows. And yeah, so that's there. The 550s no more, the GS 550, and now I have a GS 1000 that I'm bringing back up to snuff to the 550 in restoration because I want a GS and I love that 550, but it is just so gutless that I was like going through the mountains. And,
Is it a standard like that, or is it a cruiser, an L?
No, it's a G. It's a G. So it's like an E. So so that our listeners are listening that are going, what are they talking about? So Suzuki made the GS E line, G line, and the L line.
Oh,
and the
okay.
L line was basically Harley Davidson ripoffs. So it was like a cruiser. They didn't look really all that right because they weren't, because they had 4-cylinder engines and they try to make them look like cruisers. But like the G's were shaft drives and the E's were chain drives, but they were both the same in the fact that they were universal Japanese motorcycles. They were standard motorcycles. They looked the same. They look like the SR, right? Like it's just flat seat, nice fenders, inline 4-cylinder engine. So that's what I wanted. So yeah, that's what I have. The G is.
Well, we used to say that the G, even the Yamaha triple G model, we used to say that they took parts from the standard and the cruiser and had leftover and put it together and called it a G. It's like a mixture of both,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the L models were the cruiser models. So they all were generally shaft drive. So that's why, it is shaft drive. So, which is fine because one less chain to like have to lube and maintain or replace every year or every other year or however often I ride it. So I've got the GS 1000, the Bonneville, and I still got the Monkey, and that's still got the CBR 250 engine in it. So I just put some sport tires on it because I was noticing some death wobble with the other setup. So I just changed the tires. And then I've got the Goldwing. I have a GL 1588 Goldwing that I received via doing work for a friend. So I can't really call it free because it really wasn't free because I've done a lot of work. But yeah, it is now
That's
mine.
awesome.
Yeah, and that thing's awesome. 1500 6-cylinder.
Did you ride it home or trailer at home?
Oh, it didn't run, dude. So Jonnie, this thing was like, it smelled like mouse urine, like bad. And then when I took it apart, so I got it home, and he told me the clutch slipped, the brakes were seized, and it didn't run. So what I did was I pumped the tank out and then put 2 bottles of seafoam in, and then put like a gallon of gas in, and just got it to like try to start. It finally started on all that seafoam, and then I just let it idle for about an hour, and then the carburetors came back because they're automotive carburetors in there.
Yeah.
So it's like an automotive carburetor in there. It's like that. What was that 6-cylinder you had? That KZ 1300?
KZ 1300.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up.
Yeah. Well, I'm only bringing it up because that had like 2 big carburetors that it ran off of. Yeah. So that's basically what this Goldwing runs off. Is 2 big car carburetors. It's like 2 car carburetors.
Right.
So once it got running okay, I just went through the whole thing, took the fairing out, took all the mouse nests out, repaired all the wires, got the cruise control to come back. It's a sweet motorcycle.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I got now, and I've been commuting with that because I don't have the Yamaha anymore.
Man, oh man, you look like an executive going to work now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
1988 executive.
man. Wow.
But it's fun, because it's Johnny. It rides like an old 80s motorcycle. It doesn't ride like a new motorcycle at all. It's just this big bars, and it's super flickable. It's got an 18-inch front tire. It's got that flickability, and it's a nice motorcycle.
Are you going on the dark side with that one?
Man, like,
because you really can't lean it, so you might as well just stay flat,
Well, dude, you can lean it, but yeah, no, you're right. I should probably just keep it flat. I don't know.
It's funny. That's the bike that Shan probably always wanted for those years to go on trips, and
I know.
Now you have a baby and you can't do it.
We were talking about it today. I'm like, Shan, I so wish we could go for a ride right now, because if you got on this Goldwing, you'd be like, oh my God, this is the bike we should have had.
Yeah, that's right.
Because love my wife, and bless her heart, because she tries so damn hard to ride and enjoy riding with me, but all my motorcycles are not 2-up friendly, except this new Goldwing, which isn't new, but this Goldwing. So,
wow,
yeah, that's what's going on. Oh, did I tell you I'm putting the old Monkey engine in an S65? Honda S65.
I think you were trying to figure out the fuel injection or something on it. I thought the last time we talked, but
I have the parts. I just haven't had the time to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got that too.
Yeah.
Someday.
I was thinking on the Trail 70, should I restore it with the 70cc, or should I just get a Chinese motor and put in it and be done with it? So.
I don't know. I think the Japanese Honda engine's gonna be more desirable to people that will potentially want to buy it if you were to sell it.
Right.
If you were to sell it. Yeah. I don't know where you're at with that. You've got what, 500 grandchildren now. So
that's right.
You probably
Somebody
should have it around the house for them to play with.
I did get a run on a couple of Honda. One was an SL70 and one was an XR75, and they were a little bit more modern than that one. They might have been like 77 models, 78. And it was a friend of a friend that I did business with years ago, and called him up and called the other friend and said, call this guy and see if he's got them. And he called back and said, yep, I want to sell them. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to get these things, fix them up, use the money for the house, it'd be great.
Yep.
And when I got in the truck, I picked a guy up to go over there with him. He goes, just want to let you know, he said he did a little bit of research today. He knows what they're worth. And I was like, we might as well turn around. There's no so right. I think I offended him when I told him, I think I might have brought $600 or $700 with me, thinking maybe I might be able to get both of them and make one out of there. Well, it turns out he wanted like $1,500 for both of them. So I'm like, no, I don't think so. And it was, this one ran when it was parked, and this one will start every time. And you could tell they were like farm kid bikes where they were just wore out from
and they had together.
Yeah, different parts from different bikes on them. I'm like, no thanks. So he tried to tell me what they were worth, and I said, yeah, they are. After you put $1,500 more into them, they might be worth that. But so
yep,
I don't know. But
yeah, I hear that. Well, right now it's kind of crazy because up here in Vermont, right, the motorcycle market is starting to bottom out. So I had the Yamaha listed for about a month and finally got a solid lead that I got the price I wanted, right? I could have sold it for less, but I wanted a certain price. And then I was like, okay, so, silly me knowing that I have a giant pile of 20s in my pocket now, or more like in my safe, because I can't fit that many 20s in my pocket. Go, well, what's available? And the prices on everything have just bottomed out up here.
When you get on Craigslist here and you hit private owner, it's crotch rockets and Harleys. That's all it is. And when you get the parts section, it's nothing but Harley parts. They're just crazy about them here. I mean, there's not too many vintage bikes or anything listed. and then Marketplace might be a little bit better, but it's still just the amount of Harleys around here just blows me away. So, and they're all riding like this, I mean, way up there. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I should have you headhunt for suspension and shit like that, because like there's nothing for parts up here,
Yeah, just let me know.
Okay.
What you need.
Yeah.
I got a connection for a guy in Japan that wants to buy stuff, and he's looking for certain bikes. And I searched, I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
I sold him the Honda CB750 chopper that I had and converted back over to stock.
Yeah.
And
was it the guy looking for like that 650 Hawk or 450 Hawk or whatever?
450 Hawk, yeah, and I can't find any of those either. And what people are asking for him is about what he'll pay. So it's like, what's the point,
Right. Yeah.
But something will pop up eventually, you get in enough houses. I do have a guy that was next door to me in the storage unit. He saw some of my older bikes and was talking, and he's just a little bit older than me. And just in passing, he goes, I had an old bike in the basement. I said, you do? And he said, yeah. He said, it's a 70-something CB450 CL or a CL450 with the high pipes. I went, you've got to be kidding me. And he said, yep. He said, I rolled it down the steps in the basement. It quit running or stopped riding it. He said, haven't touched it since. There's stuff all around it. So it's been sitting there for 35 years or whatever. I can't get him to budge to move it, So we talk every once in a while. I bought some tools off of him and he's helped me out on a few jobs, but I always bring it up. I still want that bike. He goes, yeah, I know you do. So
yeah. You'd be like, I'll clean your basement for it.
Yeah, no kidding. That's what I said. I told him, I said, I talked to your wife the other day and she's holding the bike for me. He goes, you did? He goes, what's her name? And I went, oh, no, I don't know. So I was busted on that. So, but I thought it would be really cool to figure it out. I know his son now and find his mom's name and send her some flowers with a business card and says, Barry says that you're going to hold that bike for me someday. So just want to give you a contact information when you're ready to get rid of it, just to shock Barry to see what he says. So crazy. But I still have some friends here that, I haven't seen in years that I used to ride with. And I got reconnected with a guy that I knew a little bit. He's older than me and just an incredible mechanic. Really cool guy. So I've been stopping over there to see him, and he's into trials riding and in flat track. Yeah. So it's neat to hear his stories and, what he works on and stuff like that. So it's neat to have another mechanical friend to kind of hit ideas up with and stuff. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. No Harleys. He's the guy that's got the, the big Yamaha twin I was telling you about. It's like a TM or a something TDM or TD.
Yeah. It was a 650. I'm pretty sure, right?
It's an 850.
850. That's
and
right.
It looks like an original sport touring, like an adventure bike that Yamaha made. It's really kind of bizarre. It was big in Europe, but not here. But yeah,
you were telling about it and like making me salivate over it.
Yeah. And he said it wasn't anything great, but he said you could just put it in fourth or fifth gear and just cruise all over town in the back roads with it and never change gears. It was real torquey.
A TDM?
TDM, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to just so if someone's watching this and they want to see what we're looking at, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yamaha TDM 850. It's a cross-plane 850.
Yeah. That's what it looks more like that. I can't remember the color if it was red or green, but
it looks real. I think it looks sick. Like if I were to ride that, I've never seen a bike like that in the States. So
yeah.
What color is it? Red or black?
I seem to think it's red, but I can't remember. But I think he got it running and then took it back apart. He's a tinker. Everything's got to be perfect. So
yeah,
he's retired. So he takes them apart to have something to do. And then he works on other people's bikes. But he threw out, I thought, a fairly affordable price. It was just like, do I need another bike? So
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but he he's pretty sly. Somebody put a bike in for sale on Craigslist, and all he saw was past the bike was the fender of another bike, and he knew what it was, reached out to him and goes, hey, how much do you want for that trials bike behind the bike? And the guy said, well, I really wasn't going to sell it, but I guess everything's for sale. And he drove over and bought it. And all he saw was just the corner of the fender sticking out in the picture.
That's great.
I'm pretty impressed with that.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So Craigslist is pretty good for finding good bikes down in Kentucky right now.
Well, if you want a Harley or a crotch rocket, yeah.
Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah. And, you know, the parts list is leather jackets, helmets, and chrome fixtures for Harleys. It's about the only thing you're going to find in there.
Oh,
you just, you know, and so.
It's like a dry well up here now, man. Like I Craigslist to see, and it's like you will find bikes, but they're all above suggested retail.
Yeah.
You know, because everyone's like, oh, I know what I have. I'm like, okay, so.
Right. That's right.
No, thanks. You don't ever find the good deals. You find them, and then you have Marketplace, which I found some really good deals on. I picked up a Honda Twin Star for a good deal there. But like being able to connect with a human being and have a conversation, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I mean, they list it and then they don't check on it or reply to the comments. You know,
right.
It's so frustrating. But I don't know. I think everybody's afraid of Craigslist with scams and stuff, but I think they've figured out a way to scam you on Marketplace too. So you got to be careful.
Right.
But as long as you're dealing with cash in hand, you don't have to worry about anything. So
that's right.
Yeah. But other than that, I moved down here. Ryan, my other oldest son, really busy with kids and work and family and everything. And we talked about when we moved down here that we'd be riding, you know, once a week to get out. And we just haven't had a chance. I think we went for 1 or 2 rides since I've been here. And so, you know me, I'm trying to make sure I get 2 bikes running at all times and ready to go. And then either something happens to one and he's available or he's not available and they're both running great. So
yeah.
Morgan, youngest, talks about getting his license. I'm not sure it'll happen or not, but I'm still kind of nervous. You know, you and I have been riding our whole life, and it's like to tell somebody else, you should get your license and learn how to ride. I mean, in this traffic around here, I just get really nervous about it.
How old's Morgan now?
27.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. I feel old. I remember it, like us having conversations about him graduating high school.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's doing good. And,
that's good.
You know, it's kind of funny. The Boone County Fairground is the same distance from our house is what Champlain Farm or Champlain, the fairgrounds up there in Essex.
Yeah.
We're almost
the Champlain Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. We're the same equal distance between the two where we used to live, where we're now. Last night, fireworks were going off forever and called Sarah, my daughter, to find out what's going on. Here, it turns out this year they're giving off fireworks on opening night for free to kind of say the fair is open. And fireworks must have went on for 30, 40 minutes. We couldn't believe it. And we're watching the show, you know, because we're too old to get out of bed and go look and see what the noise is about. But that's happening next week. And then I think a couple weeks after that will be the British Vintage Classic Bike Show.
Yep.
That I went to last year and met a pretty good guy, cool guy that's got Interceptors. So I'm going to try and connect with him and let him know that I got one. So talk to him about that. So there's a few things going on.
Yeah. Well, you have more population, so you're going to have better shows and better things going on. And rare here, it's like, I don't live near Burlington, so it's like a ghost town most of the time, which is nice because I like it, but.
Yeah, we're pretty close to Cincinnati, and there's a lot of bike stuff going over there, but I'm not about to ride on the expressway and cross the river for that.
Yeah.
So, and I think they'd laugh at me if I pulled up in my cargo van and unload my bike and rode up into the parking lot. I think they'd make fun of me a little bit.
Yeah, so. Right. Well, you know.
Sort of like at your bachelor party when I drove down to New Hampshire in a truck with a bike in it.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. You did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Man.
Yeah. So today, my buddy came over, and I've been borrowing his Goldwing 1800, his yellow, they call it the Yellow Bird. It's his GL 1800 2003 Goldwing. And when I went to go, I've been riding it, not going crazy with it. Believe it or not, I'm not a crazy rider all that much anymore. And I went to a doctor's appointment, and came out from the doctor's appointment, and I smelled gear oil. His rear diff blew on me while I was riding the bike. So today he came over and we put a rear diff in the Goldwing.
Oh my gosh.
That was a fun project. And it was fun because it was 86 degrees with 85% humidity. So, you know, we were like covered in sweat and not cooling down at all. So, but
well, if your buddy would have put them French doors in before he moved 900 miles away,
I know. We could put
a lot easier.
Roll the Goldwing in. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. I feel bad about that.
It's all good. It's all good.
A few projects I didn't finish when I left there for people. So I still get calls about once a month. You know, I get your number off of a list. Can you help me with this? No, it's a little too far to drive.
I'm not there anymore, but thank you. Are you still, and you're still using the 802 number, so people think you're still in Vermont.
And with the way the number, it looks like a spam call, you know, so hardly anybody picks up around here. I got to leave a voicemail or text and go, it really is me. You know, I just don't want to get rid of the number. So,
yeah. No, please don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, I guess we'll kind of wrap this one up. And, any parting words? We're going to try to do this once a week.
Oh boy. That means I got to work on stuff and buy stuff if we do it once a week.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we've got to like move inventory. We've got to talk about, you know, issues and stories. Oh, I guess I'll plug myself. Jedz stock is occurring in 11 days.
Yeah.
If you guys want to come hang out in the Green Mountain State Park of Coolidge State Park, and there's good riding. Yeah, too bad you can't make it. I mean, it's perfect. Sleep in a van with her. Yeah,
that's right.
You know? Man. Yeah, that's what Steve Case is probably. Well, he doesn't have the van, but he's towing. He's coming. Wow. So,
is he doing good?
Steve, yeah, he's great from what I've heard. I mean, I honestly, dude, like I'm so busy, I don't really get a chance to talk to anybody. You know, you and I connecting is really hard. So,
yeah, that's right.
He's good. Everyone's doing good that I can talk to. Yeah.
Well, I'll try and come up with something exciting in the week. Maybe I'll purposely lose a 10-millimeter socket. We can video me looking around for it or something.
Yeah, that's fine. How
exciting it's going to be.
Yep. So, you can, make sure you just like and subscribe if you like what you see. If not, then whatever. Boo-hoo on you. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thanks.